Hi, my name is Arlin Moore, and this past September, for my senior project, I set out to answer some questions about reading. What are the benefits of reading? Why do non-readers not read? And is it possible to convert non-readers to readers? 9 months later, I found that the answers to these original questions are amazingly biologically based, and throughout this video, I'm going to do my best to explain their answers. One of the first things I did for my project was ask my classmates what they thought of these questions, and they really gave me some great answers. So what I found is that people do get the idea that people aren't reading anymore. They understand it, and they really, if you read some of these answers, have a good idea of this issue. They see that it's being diminished by, whether our parents introduce it to us in an effective way. We understand that cell phones are taking over, but one thing I wanted to do was to really investigate, is it possible to convert a non-reader to reader? So let's start off. What are the benefits of reading? I think we can all agree that life is very complicated. We often find ourselves gliding through life, meeting failure, some of us more than others, but altogether we all wish that we had some type of a guide to help us avoid some of these failures and make them into successes. It's like there's got to be a better way, a loophole. So Tai Lopez, maybe some of you have heard of him. He's famous from his TEDx talk called The Law of 33%, and also from his YouTube channel. But he talks about how the answer to life's questions can be found in mentors. This single idea that he talks about really changed how I view reading, and I hope it can change you too. So Tai explains how mentors have the power to show us the best way to success, the fastest way to things we want, or the things that make us happy and healthy. Everyone has their own personal struggles with achieving happiness, whether it's completing a homework assignment, a difficult song for their instrument, scoring more goals in sports, or making money at their job. But everyone has also had that experience with a mentor, someone who along the way came and said, "Here, why don't you try it this way?" And we did, and we were successful. Mentors are like life shortcuts. Mentors are like the loophole that we're looking for. Tai makes a great analogy, and it goes a little like this. How cool would it be if you were trying to get bigger for next football season, and you had Arnold Schwarzenegger coaching you along the way to that fit body you needed? How about if you were trying to make some financial decisions, if you're looking where to invest your money, and you had Warren Buffett coaching you on where to put your money? How about if, you're just having some struggles with personal relationships, or you're getting into high school and you just don't know what to do? What if you had Jane Austen coaching you, teaching you about love and how to make friends and who's real, who's fake? Or what if you're feeling down in the dumps one day and you just don't know where to turn? What if Gandhi came up to you and he was your resource, your mentor, to tell you how to find happiness in the little things in life? Those would all be great, right? But, Jane Austen's dead. Warren Buffett's the busiest guy ever. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's busy. Gandhi, it's difficult to find a mentor with as high quality as these people. But what if I told you that all these people are going to be at my house? You'd all line up, right? You'd all be there in a second. Well, as Tai Lopez points out, they can all be there in books. We don't have to go through life so blinded. The answers to life's challenges are all there in books. And as it turns out, there's a pattern. Let's see if you can get the pattern. If you don't see the pattern by now, you should probably read a book on patterns. But the point is, the most successful people who've ever lived, a large majority of them all read books. And a lot of them attribute their success to mentors or books. LeBron James, you might be surprised to find out that he reads a lot. Two of our greatest former presidents, Ben Franklin, Theodore Roosevelt, they read all the time. Steve Jobs, reading on his iPad there. Angela Merkel in the bottom right, she's noted as the most powerful woman in the world by Forbes. Hillary Clinton, possible future president. Bill Gates says he reads 4 hours a day. Warren Buffett, top left, he says he reads 8 hours a day. And of course you have Oprah. She's got a book club. Biggest book club in the world. So realizing this pattern that, as we've pointed out, is extremely obvious, why don't people get it? Why is it that people don't realize how beneficial reading is and how it can lead you to success? If people knew that, we'd all be doing it, right? But where did we go wrong? And what I found is that you have to go straight to the source. That brings us to our next question. Why do non-readers not read? What we have to think about is what inspires action. What is it that makes us want to do certain things and not want to do certain things? And this guy, Simon Sinek, author of a book called Start With Why, tackles this idea. He explains this concept called the golden circle, which tells what is the most effective way to inspire people to take action. Here's how it works. Every company on the planet, I'll use my mouse to help you out, knows what they do. Fewer companies know how they do it, but very few companies know why. Why do they do what they do? What inspires them? What's their belief in life? Why do they get up in the morning? Why should anybody care? Sinek uses Apple to further explain it. So let's go through the golden circle and use Apple. Apple makes computers. I think we all know that. Like we also know that they make them beautifully designed. They're, crafted with aluminium, and they're simple to use. Why is it that Apple makes these products in this way? Well, they believe in technological innovation. They've always believed in challenging what an industry can be. What can we do with electronic devices? So what's the deal here? Why am I talking about this? Well, see, someone along the line who attempted to inspire us to read a book, they had to present their what, their how, and their why. But what you may not have realized is that the order in which we present the what, how, and the why, whether we're trying to tell someone to buy our smartphone or whether we're trying to get someone to read, the order in which we present what, how, and why makes all the difference. Although most people and most companies present their ideas from the outside in, the most effective way to present information, Simon Sinek says, is to communicate from the inside out. So, if Apple were like everyone else, their advertisement would sound something like this. We make computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Do you want to buy one? Well, not really. I mean, kind of. The point is that it's uninspiring. Nobody wants to jump out of their seat to buy a phone by presenting that product in that way. And it's how a lot of industries work. We see commercials on TV for the new car. They say, here's our car. It's fuel efficient and it gets, it saves the environment. Buy it. Most companies and most people, when they're trying to convince us, they start from the outside in. That's just not working. Here's how Apple actually sells. We believe in technological innovation. We believe in challenging the status quo. The way we express our passion, our belief, is by making our products beautifully crafted with aluminum, simple to use and user-friendly. We happen to sell computers. Want to buy one? It's much more powerful. All of a sudden, you want to buy a computer. See for yourself. Let's go over to apple.com, and this is their new MacBook. As you scroll down, it opens up, very nice, cool. But what do we see? We see this. I'm going to highlight it. With the new MacBook, we set out to do the impossible. Engineer a full-size experience into the lightest, most compact notebook ever. That meant reimagining every element to make it not only lighter and thinner, but also better. The result is more than just a notebook. It's the future of the notebook. This sentence right here is why Apple is so much more successful than everyone else. This is why people line up 6 hours to buy the new iPhone. It's amazing. If you look at other companies, they don't have this why. It's not as clear. Let's keep going. Simon Sinek talks about the how. Here's the how. They've got their new full-size keyboard, the Retina display, there's a new trackpad. The new technology. It's astonishing. OS X, built-in apps. You get to the bottom, here's your what? The price tag and the new MacBook. Pretty interesting. So, the 3 sections of the golden circle are actually mirrored off 2 layers of our brain. The neocortex is responsible for rational and analytical thought. And the limbic system, corresponding to why and how, is responsible for gut feelings, all human behavior, feelings, intimate emotions, decision-making, and it also, as Sinek points out, has no capacity for language. So, in order to inspire intimate emotions like passion and loyalty, to get people to really buy into your ideas, we have to communicate with the limbic brain and work our way out to the neocortex. So I related Sinek's golden circle to how books are presented to the public eye. Well, we're first sold books when we're kids. This might look familiar. You might relate to this in some way or another. You're sitting there as a kid, and all of a sudden someone throws a book at you and says, here, read it. Well, what about the kids who love reading? I'll tell you a little story to paint the picture. My cousin Max, a couple months ago, we're sitting at a family dinner, and Max starts acting up. He starts throwing his food everywhere and screaming and just causing a ruckus. And, his mom looks at him like any mom would and gives him a stare. But he keeps going. So she says, Max, gives him the finger point and says, Max, you just lost 1 book. Well, Max kept on acting up. So his mom came again. That's 2, Max. Don't make me take the last one. And he stuck his tongue out at her. That's it. No more reading, she said. Now, if it were me, if my mom punished me by taking books away, I'd probably celebrate. But Max, he's only 8 years old. He's got this love for reading already, and he just started crying. He was so upset just because she took his books. So I realized that those who hate reading and those who love reading, there's a very different method of presenting ideas, and it's probably pretty similar to Sinek's idea of the golden circle. Once we go to school, the same idea is present. We're given books, and we got to read them, and we got to study, or else we don't get the grade, and then our parents get mad at us. It's kind of like a chore. We move along to middle school. We're just real bored with it. We aren't enthused. There's no incentive to read. It's just for the grade. And of course, it turns into high school, and our teachers are like, hey, read this book or don't go to college. Unfortunately, people will go through their whole lives allowing the stricture to dictate their opinion of reading. And of course, parents and teachers are not the only ones to blame. You might know that Barnes & Noble is one of the most popular bookstores, is going out of business all over the place. And I have a theory that it's because they're just like everyone else. They start from the outside of the golden circle and go in. See for yourself. This is a screenshot of the Barnes & Noble website. You've got a couple books, a Nook, and a price tag. I don't understand how that's ever going to convert a non-reader to a reader. Okay, maybe if you're a lover of reading, you're going to go in and buy your book here because it's a great outlet for that, but no one is inspired. There's nothing inspiring on this page whatsoever besides the books themselves. And as we've seen before, just handing someone an idea without explaining why it works, it's ineffective. See, nobody is going to start buying books until they understand the benefits that I've told you today. As we've seen, reading has the potential to lead a person to happiness, to what they want, to success. But what exactly is happiness? And if reading can make us happy, why don't people do it? Well, to answer this question, I looked at happiness from a biological standpoint. These are 4 chemicals: endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine, and they're released in our brain to make us feel happy. It's kind of cool. Like, happiness isn't just a thing, it's actually biological. And these 4 things in balance make us happy, well-rounded people. So what are they? Well, endorphins. Endorphins are responsible for masking physical pain, endurance. They're the reason why working out feels good. You know, evolution gave us this chemical to motivate us to work out. That's why there's runner's high. Serotonin gives us feelings of pride. So we have graduation ceremonies. We celebrate our success. Oxytocin is responsible for trust and love, friendship. When we do something for another person, when we hug someone, it feels good, right? We donate to charity. It's a great feeling. That's oxytocin being released in our brains. And then there's dopamine. Dopamine is responsible for new information and for that feeling of excitement when we get everything done or learn something new or see something very new. Now, what I talked about earlier is that we need a balance of this, homeostasis, right? You learned that in freshman biology or whatever you took it. The point is that we need a balance of these 4 in order to be happy, well-rounded people. If we abuse one of these 4, for example, if we worked out all the time, we'd be miserable, right? We wouldn't have any friends. We'd be big maybe, but we wouldn't be happy. We'd be exhausting one of these chemicals. And dopamine has the power to do this to us. I'll tell you a little story to explain. A couple weeks ago, my English teacher, Miss Kenny, was going over the week's agenda. And a girl in my class, the organized person she's known to be, had her agenda out, ready to write down what she needed to do for that night, right? So Miss Kenny says, no homework. Instead of closing her agenda, this girl actually wrote none in her agenda, drew a little box, and checked it off. She got her dopamine release, but she didn't even know it. She also didn't have to do anything. It was self-produced happiness. Because of this, dopamine is highly, highly addictive. An increase in dopamine addictions are a big reason why ADHD, anxiety, and depression rates are increasing, while reading rates are decreasing. So what's the source for addiction? Well, alcohol is a big one. Alcohol releases dopamine in our brains. And the thing is, we don't need any other people to get it. We can abuse it as much as we want. That's why if you look at alcoholics, a lot of them have lost a lot of money, maybe some close friends or family, the trust of other people. They look terrible. They're out of shape. They definitely aren't getting their endorphins going. They're just out of sync. They're abusing this dopamine chemical. Another thing that releases dopamine, however, is cell phones. And we've all got them in our pocket. What's scary is that they say if you wake up and the first thing you do is crave an alcoholic beverage, you might be addicted to alcohol. You might be an alcoholic. Well, what if the first thing you do is wake up and look at your cell phone? Are you addicted? See, the smartphone industry, the computer industry, the technology industry is centered, and they really try to grab us in with this whole dopamine response that we don't even know is happening. It develops into a hunger. So go ahead, feed it. Check your Twitter feed. Go see who poked you on Facebook. Check out who liked your last Instagram. Watch 3 hours of Vine before you go to bed. Go watch all those Snapchat stories. Go watch that 100-second one. Pinterest, your Tumblr, on Tinder. Whatever it is, it's all feeding your dopamine addiction. And it's very, very scary. See, biologically, a dopamine addiction is an alteration of the neural pathways in our brain that make us crave that constant attention, that new information, quick gratification. And there's this concept called neuroplasticity, which talks about how our brain's thoughts pathways are changing based on our experiences, our day-to-day experiences. So if we keep checking our phones over and over, if we keep looking at the new thing, the new Twitter, the new this, the new that, our brains, if you can picture it, develop this kind of cycle. And even when we don't have our phones on us, sometimes we'll go and grab our pocket and we're like, shoot, it's not there. Thing is, while reading does provide a dopamine response, it just takes more time. If people knew about the harmful effects of dopamine, it would be much easier to get back to reading, which also provides us with that healthy dose of dopamine, as well as leads us a balance of endorphin, serotonin, and oxytocin, making us happy, well-rounded people. So is it possible to convert non-readers to readers? You're listening to indisputable evidence. See, up until about 4 months ago, I hated reading, believe it or not. I would not be able to get through a few pages without thinking of something else or picking up my phone. I had this dopamine addiction. My point is that we can all change. So I'd like to thank Tai Lopez and Simon Sinek for their guidance along the way, even though I never talked to them. The point is, they were my mentors. I watched all of the TED Talks. I read Sinek's book, Start With Why, highly recommended. And I'd also like to thank all of these people I've cited here. This project's given me a passion for reading, and I'm hoping maybe someday, after graduating business school, I can help bring reading back.